Hey guys, what's going on? Your host, George Mackay. I am in the building, and I got a very special guest with me today. I'm very honored to say I have Fred Ottman, aka Tugboat, aka the Shockmaster, with me. How are you, sir?
Hey, you forgot about the typhoon.
I did. I apologize.
That's right, natural disasters, baby.
That's right. Yeah, tag team champions, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Couple times. Yes.
All right. So one question I always ask everybody, Fred, is everyone has that defining moment where they fell in love with wrestling. Do you remember your defining moment?
Probably when I was 9 or 10, when I was young. You know, it was getting up on a Saturday morning. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. Get up on a Saturday morning, eat some cereal or have pancakes that mom made, go in and watch cartoons, and around 11 o'clock, wrestling used to come on, Florida Championship Wrestling, and with Gordon Soley as the announcer, and we'd watch wrestling and then go out and play with my buddies or do whatever I had to do chores around the house.
Right, you would go out and play with your buddies, and then have your good old childhood fun. So that was your earliest memory. Did you have any early influences, like any guys that you were drawn to when you were watching Florida Championship Wrestling?
Well, my favorite heel was the Great Malenko, but all the guys. I mean, I've seen a very young Andre the Giant. I've seen Dusty Rhodes was a great influence. The Briscoe brothers. I mean, there's a laundry list of different guys that came down the line that wrestled. Florida was a great territory back in the day.
Right. Yes, it was. It definitely had a lot of stars.
Oh, definitely.
So,
Dickie Murdoch, he came through here, Captain Redneck. I mean, there's just a lot of good heels, a lot of good baby faces.
Yeah, no, it was definitely one of the better territories. I mean, I've gone and done my research now, but I wasn't so much around back then. But seeing who came out of there was pretty impressive. It seemed like Florida at one point was pretty much the hub of a lot of the big talent that was coming out of there, right?
Oh yeah, when I was the territory belonged to Eddie Graham when I was young, and his son Mike Graham wrestled here. I mean, Steve Kern, who later on became part of the Fantastic, the Fabulous Ones, and with Stan Lane and as a tag partner. I mean, just a multitude of different guys. I mean, it was just tremendous talent here. They used to, down where I was at, it wasn't until I was in my junior year of high school that I got to go to see a live event, the Miami Beach Convention Center, where they used to do the Jackie Gleason show back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But they used to wrestle there, and they wrestled in the Dinner Key Auditorium, which was down in Coconut Grove.
So, in terms of your training, you trained with Boris Malenko, right? He was the one who originally trained you, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And you originally started with, as you came out as Siegfried the Giant. I think it was back in February 1985 that you debuted, correctly?
Down in here, yeah, that was Professor Malenko. His best friend was Carl Gotch.
Right.
And Carl Gotch, because of my German and Austrian background, my family, he gave me that name. Was after an old German strongman from back in the day.
And when he came to you with that character and that name, what were your original thoughts on that?
I was cool. I was just, coming from a legend, that gave me the name. And, like I said, with my heritage and stuff like that, it was cool. I mean, people ask me all the time. I mean, I've had so many gimmicks wrestling, that I go like, they go, which was your favorite? I'm like, I loved them all, man. Anytime I was, you have to embrace what's given to you and have to make the best of what you have to work with.
Right, and even though some gimmicks are stronger than others, you just got to embrace it and try to find a way to make it your own.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm not the only guy that's had a multitude of gimmicks. That's just history. But, I mean, some are good, some are better than others, and some are not as good as others. I mean, you just have to go with the flow,
So you worked your way up through the Florida and Georgia areas and stuff like that, and I think you wrestled for Texas All-Star Wrestling and then Continental Wrestling Association.
That wasn't the only territories I wrestled in. I wrestled in Pensacola.
Okay.
I wrestled in Oregon with Billy Jack Haynes. I wrestled in Tennessee for the AWA office there out of Memphis with Jerry Lawler and Jarrett. And I did a couple of shots for Smoky Mountain. Then before I got the call, I was wrestling in Florida, and I went overseas and worked 10 days with Otto Vance. It was my first time over in Graz, Austria,
wow,
where Arnold Schwarzenegger's from.
Nice. What was the experience like over there?
It was fabulous. They wrestle rounds. The wrestling there is called catch, and they all run the same building back then, 30 or 40 days in a row, every single night, and pretty much sell out every single night. And they had the big parade coming out to the ring, and when you wrestled there, you wrestled rounds, 3-minute rounds, and it was an exciting. And I met guys. That's my first time really meeting a lot of guys from all over Europe, as well as American guys that were wrestling there, and they would the way they were over there. I went over there for 10 days because I was working with Otto. I was working with their champion. He came over here scouting talent when the championship wrestling here in Florida. They did their first their big show out at the fairgrounds here, and I went overseas. That he came over here and spotted me and offered me to come over to wrestle with him. They talked to the office, and they told me about it. And that was my first, experience overseas. It was just a tremendous deal, and Austria was awesome. They treated me great. A lot of publicity in that. And like I said, over there, they wrestle. They'll go from town to town, and it's like a caravan, pretty basically. All the guys live in a campground type situation with trailers, and they wrestle, like I said, 30, 40, 45 days in one area, then they go to the next town. It was really interesting. But I met, guys like Finley and Giant Haystacks and other guys from the UK, Scotland, Ireland, and England, and I met guys from Belgium that were there. It was just a great, great experience, as far as being overseas for the first time, being in a great environment like that.
When you go overseas and then you come back here to like North America, is the transition different from like you mentioned they wrestled rounds over there. So going from there to coming back here, was it different to kind of get back into the swing of things?
No, not really. It's, it's like you adjust, it's just the same as if you go to Mexico. The luchadors wrestle from the opposite side is regular conventional wrestling. So, it's like, when I talk to young guys, the more knowledge you have, wrestling is a constant learning experience. From the time you break in, you can be trained and go to school and stuff like that, but it's not until you're out on the road and you're wrestling every single night. Even with the independents, the guys aren't wrestling as, for the most of my career, I wrestled usually no less than 300 days a year. Okay, it was either sometimes it was planes, trains, automobiles, and sometimes a boat. Automobile. When my first territory was out in Texas, and we were renting cars, and we would put 3,000 to 5,000 miles a week of driving in Texas, Oklahoma. Going, we'd do promos on a Monday morning, and we'd probably be wrestling in either Midland or Odessa, Texas that night. So you'd have to drive about 350 miles one way, wrestle, then drive back to San Antonio where we were based out of. And like I said, you were asking, is it different? You're constantly learning, and I thought it was a benefit to watch the different styles because, different, like in the UK, the old school guys, they were, wrestled, semi-shoot style wrestling, they have, most of them have great amateur backgrounds, and backgrounds in submission wrestling, and the Germans have their own style and that stuff. So I mean, it was a great education that first time of going overseas to be able to be around these guys and see how they work and that, and come back and take that knowledge with me coming back to the States.
It was interesting because when I interviewed Barry Horowitz a couple weeks ago, and one of the things we
Sure.
touched on was the grind on the road. Sometimes, like you mentioned, driving 355 miles in one night, going back and forth
Yeah.
between territories and stuff like that. Did that ever weigh on you, being on the road so much, being away from your family? Did that ever what was your mental state when you were kind of doing all these long drives, these long miles that you guys were logging?
You have to adjust. I mean, from the very beginning, paying your dues and that bitching and complaining stuff. Some people can deal with it and some people can't. Everybody is different. You know what I'm saying? For me, it was never a problem, traveling that, because I was, on top of everything else, I was getting to see places I'd never been before, not being able to spend the time there that you did. Even when I went to WWF and or WCW, I mean, you were traveling and traveling and traveling. You come home, you go out for 5 days or so, you come home for 2 days, go back out for 7 to 10 days, come home for 2 or 3 days, and that's how life was on the road. You know what I'm saying? And you make adjustments, and it's a very hard business for marriages. Because that when you're making great money, I mean, you can fly your wife here or there, where you had, in a big territory. But I mean, as far as, back in the day in territories, guys would take their families with them. When a lot of times, going on vacation, would be like, if you were lucky enough to get yourself booked in, say, like, the Hawaiian territory, a lot of the old school guys used to go over there and work for Maivia. And they would go there, and it was like a vacation, a working vacation. They'd be able to stay there in a nice apartment there by the water and that stuff, and they would wrestle there, for however long they were there, and had their family with them, But other than that, when you were working territories, it was your family was at the house. They carried their families with them, because you would work a place, a couple, 3 months or whatever. It depends on the programs and, what's going on with the territory and where you are on the card and who you're working with. So everybody's different and everything's subject to change.
Right. And sometimes you don't find out about those changes till last minute. You could go into a specific territory thinking, okay, I'm going to be wrestling this guy. And then 2 minutes before your match, you find out, hey, you're going against this guy and you've got to make those adjustments, right?
Well, yeah, everything, what I'm saying? There's no definite in the wrestling business. No different than acting or singing on the road or whatever. A guy can get sick and get a cold and that stuff and have to cancel 4 or 5 concerts. You know what I'm saying? Get in a car wreck, God forbid, or one of his bandmates lose. You know what I'm saying? Things happen, that you have no control over. So you have to be able also, and that's why I say it's hard on the road. Marriage-wise, if you're a married man, if you're a single, it's not a big deal at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, some guys can achieve that, and deal with the lifestyle, and some guys aren't capable. It weighs on them, and especially when you got that much testosterone, you're on the road more with each other than you are at home with your family. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of ribs going on. There's a lot of some people, believe what they read, think that they are what they have on the poster out in the lobby. And, what I'm saying? Some people aren't able to fight their way out of a paper bag, I mean, and you got attitudes and that, because it's a business of egos also. You know what I'm saying? Some guys are just cool and that. Barry's an awesome guy. I know Barry, he's a Malenko guy, and just a great guy and incredible wrestler. You know what I'm saying? Very, very good wrestler. Mm-hmm. And, but like I said, there's a lot, everybody's different, and, things happen.
Absolutely. So you were actually in a time period of wrestling where you were wrestling a lot of, legends. You yourself are a legend, and I want to stress that. I don't want to take anything away from you and your career and what you
Yeah.
accomplished. When you guys were the Natural Disasters, I mean, you won the titles for Money Inc.
Yes.
You had the Hart Foundation there, or not the Hart Foundation, sorry. You had Money Inc. there. You were the Nasty Boys. Out of all the tag teams that you faced in that time period, who was your absolute favorite guys to get in the ring with and know that you had so much chemistry when you were working with them?
Well, I mean, there's so many guys, I would never want to diss anybody. I worked with me and Quake worked with the Road Warriors, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we worked with a lot of different mixed tags and stuff like that on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to go that, you know what I'm saying? But if Ted DiBiase and IRS, I mean, two legendary workers, you know what I'm saying? I mean, tremendous workers, we loved working with them. Also we worked with Luke and Butch, you know what I'm saying? Even though they weren't, they were some of my favorites growing up as the Sheep Herders, the bloodiest, nastiest, tag team in the business. I had the opportunity. I mean, I worked with Dusty, who was my brother-in-law. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, but I mean, here's a guy. I mean, I was able to work with guys. I mean, the Guerreros. I've worked with, the list goes on forever. I mean, as far as guys, I've had the first matches when Taker came in, okay? When he came in there, and loved working with him. I had the opportunity to be involved with angles with Andre, who was a great man, and I miss a lot. And I mean, I couldn't even go down the line. I wrestled over almost close to 30 years, 28 years, whatever, in the business. And, and especially in the territories, and that Bruiser Brody, I was been around him and worked around him, and, Mark Lewin, and I've worked around some classic old school guys. Like I said before, like I got to work with Dickie Murdoch. I got to work with Ron Bass, and, not just WWE, WWF stuff, you know what I'm saying, or WCW stuff, Orndorff. I mean, they're all generals. I mean, in the wrestling ring.
Right.
My partner, Quake was incredible. To have him as a tag team partner, he's my brother from another mother.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we had great chemistry together and working in the ring. When they came to me to put us together, they go, "Well, what do you think?" It was after he had finished his program with Hogan, and he's like, I got to work with the Holster, and he's like, the Midas touch, any guys that, worked with him and that, worked with Hercules, worked with Paul Roma, just a lot of great guys that, and those guys are all, any of those guys that are where they were. I mean, when I first came into WWF, when they brought me in there to do the dark matches, we were in Niagara Falls. I'll never forget being there, walking through the curtain to go where everybody's getting dressed and seeing every great champion from every territory that I had watched through the years. And now here I am with them. I was so nervous. Jesus, incredible. You know what I'm saying? Am I worthy enough to be here with these people is how I felt in my heart.
Well, I think you were. I think you were able to hang with some of the best. Is there anybody in that time period that you didn't get the opportunity to work with that you would have liked to work with? Kind of like maybe, I don't know, a dream match or a dark match, something that if you could go back to that time period, there was a wrestler that you just never got a chance to mix it up with, that if you could, you would love to get into the ring with.
There's a lot of guys, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, I just feel blessed to have worked with everybody that I've had the opportunity and to be a part of such a great business. And the others, I mean, well, you can't, if it happened, it happened. If it didn't, it didn't. It was always that way. Because when I was wrestling, I was at the curtain watching the matches. You know what I'm saying? That's how, much I love that. I love to watch guys work. I love to pick up things that I could use and things that I didn't think would look good, and there was just so many guys and that I wish that I could, to wish, if it didn't happen, it's, to wish he could have done something, it's not in my heart, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So are you still like, I mean, I know you're still involved with the business and stuff like that. I saw you at the Chinlock Legends convention where you came out, was able to meet you. That was an awesome moment. But are you still like a faithful fan? Do you still watch the product?
Oh, sure.
So you're very abreast.
My wife's waiting. She's sitting here. We just ordered dinner, and when I'm finished with you, we're going to watch, SmackDown. My son works there in production for them. He's sitting there ringside every on Raw and SmackDown, and we catch glimpses of him, and that he's right there by on the on the headphones and the little cubicle that guys get thrown on his lap all the time.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. That's incredible. I did not know that your son worked for the company.
Yeah. Oh, he's worked there for about 2-3 years, honey. Longer than that. He started with NXT. Well, he actually started, and he went through. He's trained a ref. He went through wrestling training at FCW before went to NXT and went over there when Steve Kern was in charge of that. Dusty was there, and then Dusty was my son's. He's my oldest son, and he was him and his wife were godparents to my son Berkeley. That's my oldest son.
Nice.
And he went. He went there when he was 16, and then when he turned 18, they allowed him. He was there setting up rings. He was doing all the old school, learning the ropes of the business, learning production. Because I told him, I says, he won the ref, and he's a very, very good referee. Actually, when they've gone over a few times overseas for the pay-per-views and that stuff in UK, he'd ref a few of the matches while he was there. For tryouts from the now they have the NXT developmental over there, but before that got locked into place, he'd go over there and ref a few of the talent that was there.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
But,
so in terms of sure, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, in terms of so the current roster now, is there anybody that's like a favorite of yours, male or female, or maybe one of each, who you really, really love to watch in the ring?
Well, there's a lot of guys there. There are smaller guys that I like watching. I love watching Braun Strowman because he's very athletic and he can talk. Mm-hmm. For a big man, that's really lacking in this business nowadays. So, I mean, it's just crazy, man. There's so much good talent there. I love the luchadors that they've brought in. I've a few of the other guys. I'm not as excited as far as some of the angles and stuff are a little ludicrous, and now with a little bit of the pressure that's being put on them by the other companies that are coming into play, it's it looks like they're hot-shotting or trying to you got guys that you've been using a certain aspect in that, and they're trying. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't figure it out. I watch, and if something disappoints me or something like that, I'll think and go to the other room and let my wife continue to watch, and she'll give me the outcomes and stuff like that. But there's a lot of the girls. I think that little Alexa Bliss is a decent little heel. I love the Irish lass kicker. But, I love Roman Reigns, but, he's a natural. He's just had the rug pulled out of him, underneath of him several times. They get guys and give him a push, and then they kind of, cut him off, and I don't agree with that myself, but, I mean, I'm like a retired semi-mark that watches it from a wrestling point of view, my point of view, and everybody's got an opinion, and opinions are like buttholes. Still on the sink. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? But I mean, because I look, I also listen to social media and all that stuff, and there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? That never leaves the booth.
Oh yeah. There's a lot. Everyone has an opinion.
I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting and very funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of everybody that's working up there for the most part, is an incredible talent, that they have there. I just think that not everybody gets used because they have such a high amount of people in the roster between NXT and, you know what I'm saying? I thought that maybe NXT should have been a complete entity under its own. You know what I'm saying? Instead of using, and they have at their fingertips the ability to bring guys up, but that way create that second show. You know what I'm saying? That it'd be something else for people to go watch and see. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like semi-pro football. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I've said that before. I love the NXT product and what they bring to the table, but the main roster product, it is definitely lacking. And I'm like you. Some of the storylines I shake my head at and go, why did they do that? I don't understand it. But again, I don't work directly for the company, so I just have an opinion like everybody else.
Well, like the latest gimmick with the girl saying she's pregnant.
Yes.
I mean, I was like, we were here because I didn't see it last week. My wife told me about it, and I was talking to Jimmy Hart this weekend. Me and the Nasties were at a signing up in North Florida, and he was telling me about it. And I said, my wife said something about this. He goes, and he was like, shaking he's just in disbelief, you know what I'm saying? And I saw the recap last night, and I was just couldn't even believe it was so over the top stupid. Between that and the 24/7 belt, and then they had the guys 2 or 3 weeks ago come out with the cardboard tag team belts on.
Yeah.
And and that stuff chasing everybody all over the place and all that stuff, and the angle between the guy with the wedding and his wife, and that I'm like, it just is beyond me. You know what I'm saying?
In terms of in terms of the other company that you kind of mentioned about like coming around, it will be AEW. That's your nephew Cody's kind of got his hands in. What do you think of that promotion and what they're doing? Because I've watched both pay-per-views that they've dropped out, and their product is amazing.
They're getting, but they're getting a lot of attention, stuff like that, and they can't do on normal TV what they've done at these couple of shows that they've done. Semi-hardcore, blood and guts, going back to that. You know what I'm saying? Toys R Us was around. They ain't gonna advertise.
Right.
All these different companies. Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, whatever. That's where the money is. Okay, that's the money. And those people aren't going to take and be a part of that. You'll only draw certain types of. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
No, absolutely.
If you watch general TV, what are you going to do? Well, if it's on after 9 o'clock at nighttime, I mean, WWE is a 3-hour show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, what do you? I don't know. And AEW is not the only game in town. I mean. You're still forgetting about TNA, and you just forget about, G1 is doing shows coming back and forth from Japan. Mm-hmm. You got, when they have here in Tampa Bay for WrestleMania next year, they're going to have a ring set up down in our entertainment district, bars and restaurants and stuff down in Ybor City, and they've got companies from UK, they've got companies from Japan, they've got companies from Germany and other different places, domestic companies that are here, they're going to be running constant shows, that's associated with WrestleMania, WrestleCon, and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's just a celebration of the business.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a fan.
WWE show.
Yeah, no, it's a great time to be a fan because it's very pop culture again. It's very cool to be a wrestling fan again. And there's the great thing about this time period that we're in now is there are so many options. You don't have to just settle with one. You have a plethora to kind of whatever way you want to wet your whistle, whatever you like or don't like in the business, you can flip to another organization and say, I like this about WWE, but I really like this about Ring of Honor, or I really like this about AEW. So there really is something for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, and there's great talent out there.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? There's great talent, and like independents. You know how much money it costs to go to a WWE show or a A&E, you know, the other ones and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah,
You know,
no, it costs a lot.
I mean, you know, it's going to cost you lots of money. If you go out and support local wrestling, there's a lot of great wrestlers. Where do you think all the wrestlers came from? They're the indies, okay? And you have a small venue, you know, and some of them suck. And you have different guys that are different levels. You got guys that are beginners and stuff like that that don't know a headlock from a wrist lock. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but it's out there, and they got to get out there. You know, how are they going to learn if they're not in front of people? That's where guys learn this business, working with different people and working, not the same companies. You know, because they're as bad as these little companies are as bad as, like, you know, Vince and these other guys. You know, they think that they are the next thing. You know, you can't. If you work for that guy, you can't work on my show. I laughed. You know, I've laughed. I've done signings with some of these things, and I'm like, and I look in them, and you know, I can't really. I can't put. You know, they tell the promoter, I can't put this guy over tonight because my family is out there. It's too close to my house. You know. You know, I'm in tears. You know, I'm like, you know, are you really? You know, the only thing that's important in the wrestling business is the fans, okay? Without the fans, I would have never, ever been anything or had the ability to be in a business like this, okay? It's not what I went to college for. It's, you know, not, you know, I've worked, like I said, I've worked since I'm 11 years old, regular job since I'm 11 years old. I come from a lower middle class family. And, you know, I worked on airplanes when I was training to wrestle. You know what I'm saying? Because the Kangaroos used to come to my gym and they'd talk to me all the time. And when they were working in Florida, and they go, "You ever thought about this? You ever thought about that?" You know, and I'd wrestle a little amateur. I played football. I threw shot and discus, did track and that stuff and everything. You know, but you know, and they finally, you know, I'm gonna go check this out. You know, and I went to Fort Lauderdale where I met, you know, and audited the training school up there. That Malenko came down on the weekends to Fort Lauderdale because he had one up here in Tampa. That's what eventually took me to Tampa so I could train 5-6 days a week up here. You know, when I came up here and moved up here and went to work and stuff. But getting away from that, you know what I'm saying? It's just the business. I mean, I encourage people, go out, you know, I mean, you know, you go to a wrestling, take your kids, if you got a normal family, and even if the only dad or mom goes, it takes a couple of kids to the deal. By the time you've paid for parking, paid for entrance, and the 3 seats or whatever, even you're sitting behind a pole up in the balcony, and, you know, pay for drinks, snacks, and God forbid you buy any gimmicks. You know what I'm saying? You know how much money you're spending?
Probably enough to mortgage your house for 1 month.
Business.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, and normal people have bills, and you know, and it's spread. You know, Europe. If you're from up, you know, you were at the Chinlock show. You know, people are hockey fans, people are basketball fans, people are football fans, baseball fans. You know what I'm saying? So where do I spend my money? But without, I'm getting away and meandering. I'm bad about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
Too many chair shots. But without the fans, man, I tell them everywhere I go when I meet, you know, without you guys, because they're telling me, you know, oh, we love to watch you, and we love what you did, and we love this guy and that, and when you wrestled this guy and everything like that. And they're all thanking me. I'm like, you know what? Thank you for coming and seeing me. Thank you for watching me on TV. Okay, and you know, and letting me be a part of your life and give enjoyment to you from watching me, whether you hated me for being a heel or you love me for being a babyface. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for all the great memories. Like, one of my all-time favorite matches is that tag team title match with you and Earthquake versus Money Inc. That's one of my all-time favorite tag matches. I love that match. When you guys won the titles that time, that was an amazing match.
Hey, people still hate me. I swear on my children, they still hate me for turning on the Bushwhackers, okay, when I was Tugboat. Yeah. I get comments here. She goes, you when they were kids, I loved you. And when you turned on the Bushwhackers, you broke my heart. Like, oh my God, you know.
I got to ask one more question before we wrap this up. But
yeah.
I got to ask because it's an infamous clip. Everybody knows about it. The Shockmaster.
Sure.
Can you? We got to talk about that. We got to talk about it. Can you walk me through that whole shtick, that whole setup, how everything went?
You know, it came in. I was supposed to be the secret mystery partner because I just come in from WWF. And so the mask, people are like all the time, how are you going to wear that thing? Because I'll have guys do photo ops. I'm like, you want to wear this. It's like the holy grail. They see it and they're like, and even at a Comic-Con, they're like, oh my God, can I take a picture of it? Can I? You know, I says, you want to wear it? When they do the photo op, no. Can I? I go, yeah, sure. And they'll put it on there, and they'll put it on and get the picture taken, and I'll make a funny face, while they're on their friends, or the wife is there taking a picture, or whoever's taking it. They're all howling, at the guy because I'm making a weird face or something, and of shock and awe. And they gave me that deal. They made it. I still have it. The one I had with me up there is the original, and I take it with me on the road. It goes everywhere with me. And it doesn't smell like the Bastion Booger's ball sack. So I just want you to know that, because when we did the retake up in, with WWE, when they brought me in for the Edge of Christian deal, they were giving me the second chance to redo the event again so I wouldn't fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put it on, the one guy puts it on his head, and his voice automatically changes like he was talking after sucking helium, and, that was the comment that was made. He goes, it smells like the Bastion Booger's ball sack. I said, that's too much information for me to know about you. And I'm like, but they put it on. I mean, it had two little holes drilled into the deal, and the sparkles that were coming through, the glitter. So they took and had the secretary take off a pair of her pantyhose, and they cut patches to glue over the little pee holes that are in the mask, so the glitter wouldn't get in my eyes. So I automatically couldn't see anything, even with the little peek holes. And then they put that over there, so I was pretty basic blind man's bluff. Mm-hmm. And then, when I went, they said, you're going to have to bust through this wall that they constructed for Flair for the Gold. And it was made out of 5/8 sheetrock, and it was extended up, so there was there was wood, it was studs like in your house. On the backside, they didn't gimmick the wall, because Mike Graham, the wrestler, he's the one that was going to give me the cue. There was no way to mic that helmet, so they wound up taking in, somebody else does the voiceover, and I'm pantomiming when I go through. But Mike's there. He says, "Fred, you're gonna have to hit this hard, But I was benching, right around 700 pounds, And so I said, "Oh, I can bust the wall. That's no problem." So I was like less than a foot away, and I double axe handled the wall, and there was a board also right below my kneecaps because of the extended height of the wall. Okay, and when I busted the wood, I busted the wall out, and then tripped like a teeter-totter and went blam down on my head and went to turn. Since it was a live, it wasn't taped, it was a live show, pay-per-view. I turned my head and trying to grab the hood to get back on and jump up, and everybody else is having a heart attack, Davey Boy, oh, he fell on his arse, the whole 9 yards, Sid Vicious, so, it was a horrible, horrible thing to happen, to fall flat on your face to make your debut, and after that, other than the guys ribbing me constantly about it, and having to deal with that, I mean, if I was a drinker, it would probably have been a case of beer night driving back from Daytona Beach back to Tampa where I was living at the time. But, I got over it and dealt with it, as I walked out through the back after the gimmick was over, here's Dusty in the back in the control booth and he's bent over crying, laughing, and everybody else, you know what I'm saying? So, and the rest is history as we know it.
Yeah, it's definitely become one of the most infamous clips. But you know what? It's great that you've embraced it and that you bring that with you. It was great to see it at the Chinlock show. I think it's awesome because you know what? The fans remember it, and it's something special. As much as we remember Tugboat, we remember the natural disasters, remember all those things. The Shockmaster definitely stands one of the highest points for sure.
There was probably 75 to 100 people that took photos wearing that hood. Probably that many people.
I didn't. I was afraid. I was afraid to ask because I was like, I don't want to bother him too much. I just want to take the picture, pitch the podcast, and hope he calls me.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying. I mean, I got pictures when they did the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Shockmaster by Mattel in 2016, and I was there with Becky Lynch, and I was there with the soccer mom, and a few of the other boys there. But in WWE, we did a little gimmick in the back where Becky sees the Shockmaster mask sitting on the chair, and she picks it up and puts it on, and you can pull it up on the network, and then I come in and she bumps into me and goes to slowly lift the thing off, and she's looking me in the eye, she had been wearing the helmet. Mr. Shockmaster, sir, So we had fun with it. I mean, it was a great experience. Like you said, I have fun. I joke about it, have fun with it, and all that stuff. And I get all the comments A to the Z. I have the purists that are on there. It's the most horrible thing, in wrestling history, and this and that. And I'm like, it's horrible. It's horrible. All right. Yeah, it's really, really bad. I said, but my check says it's okay. That's for the residuals from the different things. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
For the figures and that stuff. So I'm okay with it. Okay. And I think most of the fans, everybody has. It's like that. I have guys when I do podcasts like yours, and they're like, and they're edgy about wanting to bring it up. I'm like, oh, you want to know about the Shockmaster? I'm like, they'll be apprehensive. You're going to hurt my feelings. I've only got one or two left. The rest were knocked out of me a long time ago. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Pretty basically was the deal.
All right.
And it's like you asked me at the beginning, is there anything you don't want to talk about? Because off the bat, they think you don't want to say anything about that. Right. I love everything that I've done in the wrestling business, good, bad, and ugly. Okay, and I'm just, like I said before, I'm just happy that I was able to be a part of something that I love. I was a wrestling fan. I was a wrestler, and I continue to be a wrestling fan. I enjoy all types, all different companies, and that, so I mean, it's a great business. It's a great business, and even some of the stuff that they're doing is crappy on some of the different companies. And do I agree with everything? The only thing I have to say is they need to give young, the thing, and especially in the independents, is guys emulating what they see on TV, character-wise, wrestling-wise. You know what I'm saying? What made things different back in the day, and when I was wrestling, okay, depending on where you were in the world, what companies you were working for, the styles of wrestling were different. And like I said before, having the opportunity to work with so many different types, wrestling has become a high spot business where it's nothing but high spots, and guys don't have a tendency not to sell what's been done to them, and it's not believable. You know what I'm saying? They go out there and they'll talk for 10, 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? People want to come see wrestling. True that they want to see, they're building angles and they're building storylines and stuff like that. But it's all about, when that come out, when me and Quake used to come out and cut a promo, we were managed by Jimmy Hart, but we come out there we'd make you believe we were going to kick your ass. You know, just like a lot of guys. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't if it's you know, if it's too much laughing and gaga, you know, or too much silliness, people go, I think. But that's my opinion now.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, it's nothing edging the stone. You know, but I mean, if it's funny, you don't make money. You know, in a lot of aspects. And, you know, you need a variety of characters, you know, different characters, different, you know, and like I said again, that's just my opinion, you know, and I told you what opinions are like.
Yeah, they're like buttholes. Everybody's got one, 100%.
That's right.
All right, Fred, before...
You know what I'm saying?
I understand completely. Before we wrap it up, I just got one final thing I need you to do for me. I need you to give me one more tugboat whistle and just let the people know that they're listening to Straight Talk Wrestling before we say goodbye.
All right. You ready?
Yep.
This is Tugboat, and you're listening to Straight Talk Wrestling. No BS, just the truth.
I love it. That's amazing. I am definitely going to use that to introduce every one of my episodes. Thank you so much for the time today, sir. It was a complete honor. And I want to let you know that you are officially now a member of the Straight Talk family. Anytime you want to come back on the show, you just call me and let me know. We're going to do it all over again.
No problem. Anytime you want to call, feel free.
All right. Thank you, Fred. You have a great night. Enjoy dinner with your wife. And I hope you enjoy SmackDown.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Take care, Fred. Bye-bye.
All right, be careful. Bye.
Well, guys, that was the Shockmaster. That's right, your host got him. Tracked him down, chased him around for 3 weeks, but I finally got him in the can just for you guys. That's what I do. I hustle every day. As always, I'm your host, George Mackay. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, we're going to have another great one for you. So stay tuned, stay locked.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for another episode on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and iHeartRadio. Also follow us on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And for all our merchandise, you can search us on ProWrestlingTees.com.